You know, I love, it seems that February tends to be the theme of love for me. And as the month has been progressing, I've been getting deeper messages and deeper things coming. And so I want to talk about that first before we get into the love topic. It kind of all is love. Love is everything. And you know, this week, the last couple weeks really, I've been working with people and noticing in my own life and other people's lives that, you know, some people right now are really having lots of challenges, lots of health challenges, challenges in life. And, you know, it's so easy to just say, okay, just trust, you know. Okay, you know, everything happens for a reason and all these things, and we know it on some level, but on the human level sometimes it's harder to grasp that, especially when it feels very big. And it's been interesting for me because one of my very dear friends is going through a similar thing that I went through with finding a lump on her thyroid and doing a biopsy and almost exactly the same experience, and she's going to be having surgery the next few weeks. And what it's brought up for her to look at was exactly what I went through, the same thing. So I've been kind of reliving 7 years ago the experience, but in a different way. It's almost like now I'm the other side of it, and I can look at it and go, wow, you know, what I have gained in these 7 years has been incredible. I could have never thought that it would take me to such places. And so I guess I want to talk about that when we're going through a challenging time, to remind ourselves in the midst of the fear and everything else that there's something higher and greater that is emerging. And that we may not see it in that moment, but it will reveal itself. And I think the biggest thing for me that I wanted to share that was kind of brought up again with her going through this is that I questioned myself as a healer. For a little bit, I questioned myself because I couldn't heal. I didn't heal myself. Like I didn't heal the cancer before I had to go and surgically get it removed. And I've helped thousands of people over the years heal all sorts of things. And so I felt a bit like a failure. How many have felt sometimes like a failure with different things? Like, you know, that's been brought up at times. And I've been really sitting with that what is that about the human experience, about thinking that we failed? And where does that come from? And is that true anyway? You know, for me now, there's no such thing as failure. That every experience is incredible. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. So my experience of going through surgery and having the thyroid removed and then finding out one side was cancerous and then going back in a month later and having the second side removed because it was cancerous was exactly what I needed at the time. Was exactly what was needed to bring me to a higher level. And, you know, I think it's so important for us to look at that everything is, to be able to get to a place where we can know that everything happening is divine, no matter what it is, even if it's in our mind not exactly how we pictured it. Yeah, I would have loved to have had it completely healed before I even, you know, didn't even have to go for surgery. But that wasn't what I needed on some higher level. So it's really about embracing everything, isn't it? And that really is about love. It's about, you know, for me the experience was embracing it, but also loving myself deeper. Was getting to a place of I was always one to take care of everybody. I'm going to heal the world. That was my thing. I'm going to heal the world. I'm going to take everyone's pain away. Oh, sorry, not possible. And you know, it kind of took me to a new understanding. And so every experience, and do I regret it? Not for a minute. Not for a minute. And I rely on thyroid medication. And, you know, I bless it every time I take it. So it's really about how do we lift the way we're seeing things? How do we hold a higher vision for ourselves? How do we embrace wherever we are? Even if it feels like the most challenging place and we don't know how we're going to get out of it or what's going to happen next, how do we embrace that knowing that we're absolutely held every moment, that we're going to have exactly what we need? So that's kind of how I wanted to start this. Because it's really, I think there's a lot of people that are going through things, and I think it's, I know that when this comes really strong for me, it's about sharing it, and I know we've all had amazing experiences in our life, and that how many of you have been through really hard, tough stuff, and when you've come through it, it's taken you to a whole other place. Or going through it now and you don't know that yet. You're not there yet, that you can see. But so, it's wonderful just to open ourselves up, to affirm that I'm open and available to see the blessing, to see the gift in this situation. And just to be open, because when we can open that door, so much more comes in. I love Rumi. Rumi says, your heart is the size of an ocean. Go find yourself in its hidden depths. Isn't that beautiful? Your heart is the size of an ocean. Go find yourself in its hidden depths. And I think that's what we're being called now is, when I'm not talking about love of, finding your ideal mate or, creating that relationship. It's that relationship within ourselves that's so valuable and the most important foundation for any loving relationship, isn't it? Is to build that relationship with ourselves and to love ourselves and accept ourselves more deeply. And we're all doing it in our own way. And sometimes we get challenges to help us get there even more. That things happen to question things so that we can surrender even more to a place of love within ourselves. And I think that's the journey of life, really. It certainly has been for me. How many have been on that journey of self-love? Of really coming to a place of loving yourself even more deeply? So I wrote here, life gives us experiences that help us grow and gives us opportunities to choose love over fear. So we're always going to have that opportunity in life to choose. And I remember doing a course once and they said, there's only two emotions, love or fear. And fear kind of encompasses everything. So you get a choice of what you're going to choose every moment. Isn't that right? And we talk so much in here, being science of mind oriented, and the principle of science of mind is all about the mind and all about how we think and choosing our thoughts and being open to become more aware of our thoughts so that we can choose thoughts that really support our life. And that's about choosing thoughts that support loving ourselves even more deeply. And I remember years ago doing this for myself and then working with clients to do this, to say every day to ourselves. And I know you all probably, many of you do this already. But to say to yourself, whatever you're doing, so if you're going to do an action or think a thought, to say, is doing this loving myself? Is eating this fifth piece of chocolate, or, is this 10? Is this loving myself? Is this loving my body? Is this loving myself? And if it's not, then doing something that is. So becoming conscious of that all the time, is doing this, is having this thought loving myself, is having this thought supporting myself. And it's really powerful. How many of you do that already? So to actually work on that this month, how many are willing to kind of become more aware of asking that question this month, become aware of that? I find it really made a huge difference to my life to ask that question. And it's really about the questions. I think Greg Braden talks about that a lot, doesn't he? Is that the person, Lisa? I think Greg Braden talks a lot about the questions you ask. Somebody, trying to think of who asked.
John DeMartini.
Oh, is it DeMartini?
Man of the month.
Talks a lot about the questions that you ask. That asking the right questions will give you, the most empowering questions will help empower your life even more. And I think that's one of the most empowering questions is to ask, is doing this, is thinking this, loving myself? Is it an act of love? And the more we can hold that frame, that picture, the more we open up to that within ourselves. And then around us. Because it really starts from being that place of that vibration within ourselves. Louise Hay says, love is the great miracle cure. Loving ourselves works miracles in our lives. And it really is. Because as we do, and we forgive ourselves on a deeper level, and we accept ourselves on a deeper level, and we let the past go on a deeper level, miracles happen. And we get to see them, and feel them, and experience them even more. I know that I am. I don't know, there's something coming back from Nepal for me this trip, and this has been my 3rd trip, and I'm going back in September, has just opened me so much more. And I think it has a lot to do with being around 150 kids that are pure love, that have had the hardest lives, the hardest beginnings that you could ever imagine, and yet they are just love, and they are so grateful, and I never ever have heard any of them complain. They just love you. They're just grateful for every bit of food and everything. And that changes you. It changes you on a deep level, and for me it has. I think it's taken me to a deeper place of gratitude for everything. For all the things that sometimes we take for granted in our lives. It was really cold there, and there was no hot water. And I'm really grateful for hot showers. I'm grateful for so much, that sometimes we don't even think about, really. So something, every experience is an opening. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could, whatever we're doing, we can wake up every morning before we go to work, before we do the same thing we usually do every day, and just do it from a whole different perspective. Say, okay, today I'm going to love more deeply everyone that comes into my path. Everybody. No matter who it is. What if I could just be that presence of love? Be that presence of joy? How incredible that would be, huh? To really have that be the focus. Can you imagine what your day would be like? Who wants to try that out with me this next week? I want to hear, I want to hear back on what you experience. But to really wake up with, I'm going to be that presence today of love to everybody. Let me be open. Let me be even more that place. And watch the miracles that happen when we are that. When we can just be in that vibration. That was what changed for me in Nepal in January, was being in that vibration with these kids and not having to do anything, just being with them. In each moment, I didn't think about anything. My mind was stiller than it's ever been, and as a Gemini, it's never still. It's always been. But still, so still. I was just savoring. It was like, when you eat something that you love that's so delicious and you just want to savor every bite. Maybe it's chocolate, whatever it is. And you want to just savor every bite. That was what it was like for me, to savor that vibration of love, to just take it in. That it was so precious. Whether it was playing basketball or jumping rope or doing things that I hadn't done, for what I'm in my 50s. So, since I was a little girl, and just being taken back to that place. And those of you with kids know that. Those that have children or around children. I haven't been around small children really very much, so for me it's just been such an opening of my heart. And so this week, I wrote down, Lisa said to me, Laura, you're getting deeper with what you're writing. And I said, yeah, I know. It's like something has, we find as we go the journey, something shifts and we don't know exactly what or when it happens, but, just being open to that. So something has shifted in my writing, in my expression and everything. And so I wrote these are the lessons I've learned in my lifetime. And especially I thought about these being what came out of my experience with cancer as well. But really what I've learned going through my life as I look back on my life, on the last 56 years of my life, and went, wow, okay. So besides probably the biggest lesson for me has been to really love and accept myself, because I don't know why. I grew up in a loving family, but I didn't feel like I was lovable. I don't know, can anyone relate? So I grew up feeling like something was wrong with me. And no one, I don't remember anyone telling me that. It was just something that I felt inside of me, and I think part of that is because I've always been intuitive and an empath and always felt things and knew things that I could never explain. And so when I would say to somebody, oh, are you feeling this? They'd say, no, no, no. So I thought, well, there must be something drastically wrong with me. And going through life like that is very lonely. It's very lonely. And, it took many experiences to get me to a place of seeing myself differently, of holding myself very differently, and seeing that I was okay, more than okay, that I was loved. And so these are the lessons. Be the best you can be. Don't be afraid to be who you are, whatever that is. Don't be afraid to let who you are be seen. To be that authentic being that you are. Let go of the need to please others and to do things that make you happy. It's a big one, isn't it? Like this need to want to please everybody, even though inside of us isn't feeling right. To listen and follow your heart and soul. And that's a daily practice. So really to be able to be still enough to be connected to that channel, that heart and soul channel, so you can listen. And again, this is not, for me, these are lifetime lessons. I practice them every day, or try to. Release the need to take things personally. How many of you have read The Four Agreements by Miguel Luis Ruiz? Fantastic. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it. Wonderful. And the first agreement is don't take things personally. Because if we can really stay in that loving ourselves, then we're not going to take something personal. That we're going to know that whatever happened, that's what that person is going through. And know inside of ourselves what the truth is for ourselves. But to really practice that letting go of taking things personally. I think that's a deeper way of loving ourselves, isn't it? Coming back to our own truth. Don't be afraid to give things a go. Put your foot in the water and see if you like it. Because sometimes it's like, oh, that feels scary. I don't think I'm going to try it. No. And important, try it. See how it feels for you. See if it resonates with you. Be willing to step out of what is comfortable. We so often, and certainly Stan and I get caught up in being uncomfortable, and getting into a routine all the time, and we're trying to step out of that, and bring things in that are different for our relationship, and to do that in life. We get up every morning, we have the same routine, don't we? Sometimes, not everybody, but to do that. So change it up. Go, no, I'm not going to put this sock on this time. I'm going to try it this way. And, it might feel a little uncomfortable, but to shake things up a little bit. And the last one is be your own best friend. And I think that, for me, has been my greatest lesson. The thing for me now that I can say that in my life. And it's certainly taken years. to really be able to say that I am my own best friend, and that I do love myself deeply, and I'm grateful for who I am, and to get to a place where we can all do that. How incredible this world would be, if we can really get to that place of appreciating who we are, and standing that glory, and being that light. Because as we are, we become lighter and brighter, don't we? And so I want to finish with Neil Donald Walsh. And just close your eyes for a moment. Breathe nice and deep. He has this wonderful question that you probably have heard. He says, find the courage and the strength to turn inwards and to ask a simple, soaring question. What would love do now? So just asking yourself that, especially when you're going through something, you don't know what to do, to come back to that vibration of love and to ask, what would love do now? Just bringing that into your life. And seeing and experiencing what shows up from that question. Because it's the same thing as asking, what would God do now? What would Spirit do now? What would my higher self do now? It's all love. It's all one. Just breathing that into your consciousness, to every part of you. And if there's anyone that you're having conflict with right now in your life, just sending them love. Just seeing that vibration of love surrounding them, and yourself, and the planet. If there's any situation in your life that feels hard, maybe you don't have the answer for right now, or you might ask that question and just sit with that. Let that emerge in whatever way it needs to for you. What would love do in this situation? What am I being guided to do here? What would be the highest thing that I could do that would be coming from that vibration of love? And just turn to the person next to you, and we'll finish this way. Just turn to the person next to you, and just share one way you're going to love yourself even more this week. One thing you can do that's more loving for yourself this week. Everybody got to share? Yeah. Does anyone want to share out loud? Put it out into the...
I'm going to be more patient with myself next year.
Your body
Be
will
more
like
patient
that.
with myself getting better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Laurie, every time I get stressed about a situation or something I have to do, instead of sitting and stressing about it, I'll actually do something to help that thing that I'm worried about.
Beautiful. That feels better already, huh?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I'm going to allow myself to breathe more deeply.
I'm going to take an opportunity to listen to myself more.
I'm going to be doing more exercise, bending and stretching and taking up tennis again.
Our bodies love to move. They need to move. Anybody else? Beautiful. So remember to ask, is whatever you're doing, loving yourself, what would love do now? Really come from that place of being that vibration and watch how things shift around you. Peace and blessings. Thank you.